Hey guys, so today the look that I'm bringing you is this look right here. This is like my everyday go-to makeup look. This is a look that I know I can accomplish in under 15 minutes. There's not really strict contouring. I just bronze, threw on some blush, and I always highlight, so I don't know, shoot me for that. My eyebrows always have to be done. I did put on a layer of eyeliner, but the eye look is very simple. It's something that, you know, if I wasn't doing a tutorial, I could knock this out in 10 minutes. I mean, it's not by any means anything hard. You are able to, the lips that could go with this are very, very versatile. Honestly, most of the time I just pair it with a NYX Butter Gloss, but today I wanted to use a lipstick to do something a little bit different. This is just something that I feel like is really easy. It's really easy to pull together, and I just wanted to bring this to you guys as my first tutorial because it was something that I knew I could do, that I knew I could accomplish, that I knew would look, you know, good no matter what. You can do this with a wide range of products. It doesn't have to be, you know, just this palette. You could do this with browns, bronzes, golds, green, blue, purple, I don't care. I mean, this is a very versatile look. It was very simple. It wasn't anything crazy or over the top. I definitely will make sure that I list the products below what I used. I don't know how to put the links in, but I will definitely list the products that I used. Anyways, yeah, let's just jump right into it and let's get started. Okay, guys? Bye!
Alrighty guys, so the first thing I'm going to be doing is priming my face. I've already washed and moisturized my face. I'm going to be using the NYX Angel Veil Primer, and I'm just going to rub that in really well. Also, I wanted to clarify it's a good idea to wash your hands no matter what you've been doing. Wash your hands before you rub your hands all over your face. I'm going to be taking my L'Oreal Paris Infallible Pro Glow Foundation, and I'm going to buff that onto my face using my Morphe M439 brush. One thing I wanted to add was before I was just swiping my foundation all over my face. Recently I've been working on really patting it into my face and then kind of wiping off anything that's, you know, big or left over. So foundation probably takes me the longest to get done, but finally I finished and it's such an exciting feeling to move on to something else. So I'm going to take my Maybelline Fit Me Concealer in the shade 15 Fair, and I'm going to use that to highlight the areas of my face that I really want to accentuate. I tend to have dark bags under my eyes, so I really like to make sure that the underneath is super duper highlighted. So most days I tend to use a damp beauty blender, but for some reason on this day I use a dry one. I'm going to use my beauty blender to pat out my concealer, and I'm also going to bring that up onto the eyelids so that it can kind of use it as a primer. Next thing I'm going to do is take my Maybelline Master Fix Face Studio Setting Powder in the shade Translucent using my e.l.f. small tapered brush, and I'm going to set my under eye and my eye. I will admit I don't really like the way that it applied using my dry beauty blender, so I'm definitely going to stick with the wet one. I'm going to be using the Milani Everyday Eyeshadow Palette in the shade Must Have Neutrals. This is like my favorite palette to use every day. So I'm going to be taking my e.l.f. Eyeshadow She Brush into the white kind of glittery color. It's not too glittery, which is why I really like it. It's just got a soft shimmer to it, and I'm going to put that all over my entire eyelid. The next thing I'm going to be doing is taking my mini blending brush by Japonesque, and I'm going to put it into that light tan kind of grayish color, and I'm going to buff that mostly on the outer edges, and then once I have most of the product off, I'm going to bring it inside into my inner corner of my eye. One thing that I'd like to mention is I really do like focusing on the outer corners, and then I will bring it up onto the brow bone right above my eyelid. I'm going to take this Luxe blending brush, it's a little bit smaller, and I'm going to put it into that darker gray color, and I'm just going to buff that the same way that I did the first one on the outer edges, and then bring it in not as deep and not as high as I did earlier. And we're going to blend it all out, so it's okay to leave it a little bit harsh. I'm just going to repeat this process on the opposite side. One thing you'll notice that I do is I kind of tap the brush to get any excess powder off. And because this is such a dark shade, it's a good idea to just kind of tap that extra powder off or blow it off. That way you don't get like a lot of fallout, which would be a lot of dark shade like hanging out under your eye, which could end up darkening any of that we just concealed. The next thing I'm going to do is just go back in with that same Japanese brush into that same grayish color, and I'm just going to start rubbing it back and forth and blending out all of those harsh lines that I was telling you guys about earlier. It's really important that you do that so that, you know, things don't look a little bit kooky or too big and bold. Like, that eye is looking so bold right now, and blending it just helps out so much. Now I'm using another Japanese brush. It's kind of like a smudge brush, and I'm putting it in that pink pearly shade, and I'm just going to apply that all over my entire lid. I want to add that it's kind of important that if you're using a glittery shade, that you make sure that you blow off a little bit of the extra like shimmer, or you tap it off, because yes, it's good to have the shimmer on the eye, but it can also fall out and you'll have glitter all over your cheeks. So the next thing I'm going to be using is this angled brush by Bare Minerals, and I'm going to put it in this black shade. I'm literally going to just pounce my brush into it like 1 or 2 times, and then tap off everything so that it's not heavy, it's not dark, it's loose, and it's just going to create a better amount of shadow. So I'm literally holding it at an angle, and I'm bringing it in using the thin side to pull it above my eyelid. You don't want to go too dark or dramatic because it's going to end up looking really crazy because we already blended everything out. If you want to go really dark and dramatic, you're more than welcome to, but for me, I just prefer a much blended out look. Now I'm just making sure both sides look even in color and size, and then I'm going to go back in with that same brush and the same grayish color, and I'm going to start blending it out a little bit more. If I wanted to go for a more dramatic look, which some days I do, I would have, you know, worked on blending more black and just using that to blend it, but I decided not to. So I'm going to go back in that original white shimmery shade, and I'm going to put that on my brow bone as a brow bone highlight. Sorry for my lighting, I'm still figuring out the best places to sit with my ring light. So I'm going to be using my e.l.f. Eyebrow Kit in the shade Medium to do my eyebrows. There's really not much to say here. I'm just using a eyebrow brush to kind of shape them, and then I'm going to use an eye defining brush to use the paint to kind of paint them on. Or I guess it's not paint, it's like a pomade. Next thing I'm going to be doing is my eyeliner, and we're going to skip through that, but I do use the Maybelline Master Graphic by Eye Studio in the chisel tip. Now we're going to move on to bronzing. I'm going to use my Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer and this big fluffy CoverGirl brush that I got just to kind of bronze and not really contour.
In the hills, those hazy days I do remember. We were running still, had the whole world at our feet.
Now I'm going to be using this e.l.f. Blush. I don't really remember the shade, it's super old, but it's just like kind of peachy, and I'm going to use this Me blush brush, and I'm just going to dab that onto the apples of the cheeks and kind of just give it a little bit more of a glow, kind of pinky tone to play off of that pearly pink color. So we're going to work on the under eyes. I'm going to use that grayish color on a little pencil brush, and I'm going to rub that all over the underneath of my waterline. I think it's always a good idea to go in with a lighter shade so that you don't have this big dark cloud under your eye and you kind of have something to work and blend with, just like we do the tops of our eyes. I'm going to take this pointed brush by Japonesque and I'm going to put it into that gray color, the darker gray color. And blend that all underneath there and just kind of keep it focused to about maybe 3/4 of the outer lid and leave 1/4 of it open so that my eyes don't look as closed and squinty and they look a little bit more open. Now I'm going to be using this angled definer brush and I'm going to dip that into the black shade and I'm going to line the same area with that black color. This is going to make it a little bit more dramatic, but it's not going to be as dramatic as if I had added a wing and like kept the shadow dark. It's just going to add a little bit of drama to the look.
We were running still, had the whole world at our feet.
So at this point I'm going to use that same pencil brush with that same grayish color and I'm just going to buff out that black color and kind of blend it out so we can kind of make it look a little bit more smoky and maybe a tad less dramatic. Even though I've already concealed, I like to go back and just kind of clean up any of the excess powder or liner or shadow that might have been left over. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of a darker shade of the Fit Me Concealer and I'm just going to kind of use the edge of my beauty blender to define that area and just kind of give it a more angled catty look. You can still see some of the powder left on there, but that's okay because I would have set it anyways. So when I do a shimmery look like this, I like to highlight the inner corners of my eyes. So I'm using a larger pencil brush in that pink pearly shade and the white shimmery shade, just going back and forth between the two. And I'm going to put that right near my tear duct on the inner corner of my eye to just kind of brighten everything up and make me look a little bit more awake than I'm feeling at the moment. So as you can tell, I didn't do too much, but it helped a little bit. Moving on to eyelashes. I didn't feel like applying falsies and I don't apply them on a day-to-day basis, so I'm just going to curl my eyelashes really good, give them a couple big pumps and then a few quick short bursts. I'm going to use my Loreal Voluminous Mascara in the shade Carbon Black and I'm just going to apply that a few coats actually and just make sure that I distribute it evenly on each lash. Nothing's too clumpy. Nothing's pulling apart, just all works out evenly. I know some people don't apply mascara to their lower lash line, but to me it just looks odd if I don't. What I do is I wipe off the brush as much as possible and I just use whatever's left remaining on the brush just to try to get a clearer and more moderate look. Next I'm going to be using my highlight trio by City Color and I'm going to be using the pink and the white shades on my Luxe highlighting brush and I'm just going to pounce that brush back into both of those colors and sweep that on my cheekbones and kind of on the apples of my cheeks just to really help out with that pink blush that we used earlier. Next I'm going to highlight above my brows, onto my nose, my cupid's bow, and my chin. I just love a really banging highlight. Like I said earlier, I typically use a NYX Butter Gloss for my lips, but today I decided to use the L'Oreal Nude collection in the shade Julianne's Nude. It's not exactly a nude, it's more of a pinky color, but I really liked it for the look that I had going on. And as you can see, I was totally feeling myself at this point.
Okay guys, well this is the finished look. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this tutorial and hanging out with me. I hope that you guys are able to use some of the techniques, some of the products, anything that I showed you in this tutorial. I hope that you're able to use it in your everyday makeup getting ready routine. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching it. Like, subscribe, comment, whatever you choose to do. Just say hey. Alright guys, I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Bye!